dance class was just so fun and fulfilling. And then the dance class was just something to do. And then we take that journey back home. So Saturdays were a lot of fun for us. So I was doing that at the audition for Tap Dance Kids. So meanwhile, I'm playing in my band. For some reason, the band leader, Rudy Stevenson, the late great Rudy Stevenson. So Rudy was in charge of a group that my mother was singing with, and my Aunt Brenda, and Aunt Aileen, and Aunt Jean Cheek, and Tina Fabrique. So I went to, this is, I think, how I joined the band. So I went to rehearsal with them one day, and I started playing the band, and then Rudy said, oh, I have some children, why don't you come join them? Boom, boom, bam. So, but also, for some reason, during the course of my band membership, Rudy thinks that we can make a song or record an album. And he started us off singing this song, and that was the song I sang for the audition. I sang this song, the same verse, maybe 3 times through, maybe 6 different keys. The song's like, the girl's getting married today. She got a bouquet of roses she plans to toss away. And gently he'll take her hand and they'll waltz around the room. There's the bride and the groom. The girl's getting married today. And I just sang that 3 times because we never did finish the song. That's all we had. So I went to the audition, I sang this song, I read the script, and I did some tap dancing. A couple of months later, they called me back and they wanted me to start in the role of the Tap Dance Kid, which I accepted, and my life would begin to change at that point. I started the role. I joined the production of the Tap Dance Kid when I was 10 years old, and I did that for about 2 years. After Tap Dance Kid, I was in show business, and my mother had become my momager. That's like a manager and a mom, when you don't really have a manager, but you do. So then I guess like I was in show business, and I did some additional print work and some things like that, and then I got an audition. I was asked to come audition for a production that would go to Paris, and this production would be Black and Blue. So at this audition, it was just myself. So I went in there, I performed, I did what I knew, and then I left. A couple of months later, they had let me know that they would want me to join the company. And I did. I stepped into 890 rehearsal studio, and I see dancers in the corner, and they have on leg warmers and they're stretching and maybe doing a little vocalizing. And I see some singers over there. And then over there in the cut, I see these men, and they just, they're on raincoats, and maybe they're smoking cigarettes and just hanging out. They look like just gangsters or something. I don't know. They had on fresh fedoras and they just were distinct. And I was like, wow, what is that? I gravitated to them, and who was in that clump? Lon Chaney, Chuck Green, Jimmy Slide, Bunny Briggs, George Hillman, who's from Newark, New Jersey, and Henry Latang, and all of these wonderful men and women, Ivy Wheeler, Diane Walker. And when I met them, I had met Lon Chaney again. I met them, and we went off to Paris to perform in this production of Black and Blue. Linda Hopkins was in the production. Ruth Brown was in the production. Carrie Smith, who lived in New Jersey, was in the production. And who was the band leader? Rudy Stevenson. And all of these great musicians were in the band. I mean, cats, you know, Sir Roland Hanna, and you know, Jerome Richardson, and Grady Tate, and it was just a masterful group of men and women and artists. And I would do this over there. We had an extended run in Paris. We were only supposed to be there for 6 months, and then I think we went back for an additional 4 months. But that time in Paris is when I began to understand what this dance is and what it was beginning to be for my life. And I would just begin to morph into a tap dancer. So I started off tap dancing like, you know, nothing against that. It just, it's not what I prefer. But then these guys, you know, they, it was then when I started to understand how vibration and sound was able to affect the mind and the heart and the soul and the spirit. And then I began to understand how to speak through this dance. And it was because of these men and women, Diane Walker, they began to change my life. I was so into them. I was more into them as people than I was into them as tap dancers. And I think that's why my love and admiration and respect for them is what it is. Because I think, I want to say, I've always been around older men and women. You know, cats, whether they're musicians or, you know, singers or whatever. I was always around older people. And being around them, I didn't even know that they were famous people. I thought that they were just some of the coolest men and women invented. So I would follow them. I would become a student. I would become a grandson. I would become a son. I would become a friend. I would fall in love with these men and women, and they would change my life. They began to change my life as a tap dancer, and also as a young man. They just changed my life. They taught me so much other than tap dancing. And I believe that is why not only am I the person or the young man I am today, which I am still working on myself, because God is not through with me yet. You know that song? Please be patient with me. God is not. Oh, we'll deal with that. So it's only because of them that I am what I am and working on the man I should become or hope to become. So after that, after my time in Paris with these men, I would go on to be with them and to perform with them. After Paris, Black and Blue, we then came to Broadway to do Black and Blue for maybe a couple of years. And again, I would remain friendly with them. But during one of our performances in Paris, there was a gentleman in the balcony, and at the end of the show, he was just going bonkers up there. He was like just waving his hands and running back and forth. And I didn't know what the heck was going on. I'm from here, so something happened, and I'm like, all right, you know. Come to find out, This man was Gregory Hines. This fine gentleman here. And I want to just make sure, Marcella, you're still over there, right? Okay, good. So I would see Gregory there, and he met me backstage, and his words to me were, "You're going to be my son." And I said, "All right." Kept it moving. Keep in mind, I would see Gregory. I would see his afro only at Hines and Hatchett Dance School, because it was Gregory Hines and Maurice Hines and Frank Hatchett who owned Hines and Hatchett Dance School. So every now and then Gregory would show up to see what was going on in the classes, the ballet classes and the jazz classes. He would want to see what was going on in there. You know what I mean? Okay, so I would see his afro like peeking over the thing, but I never really spoke to him. To be honest with you, I didn't even know who he was. But in Paris that day, he came backstage and everybody was, hugging him and saying something, and he said that to me. A couple of months later, we're back home, and I get a call to audition for the movie Tap with Gregory Hines and Sammy Davis Jr. And most of these gentlemen, including this man here, Steve Condos, most of them were in this production of the movie Tap, all except Lon Chaney. And I love Gregory Hines to death. I love him. And this is off, I'm going off now, but I have to share this with you. I found out, I don't know if you know this, Mom, but Gregory did not care for Lon Chaney's dancing style. Now, Lon Chaney was the first cat that I fell in love with. So I had a problem with Gregory. Had a real problem with him not caring too much for Chaney's style, but that's why Chaney wasn't in the movie, because they had differences. But Lon Chaney, he was the most influential in my life. So much so that I named my son after him, Chaney, who's running around here somewhere. I don't know. Can you ask my son to come out? So I go to this audition, I dance, and I get the call letting me know that I had gotten the role. And so can you come out and say hi to the people? That's your grandson. It's my son. I can only imagine what I was doing at 12 years old, if he's doing that. So I get the role in the movie Tap with all of these gentlemen, except for Lon Chaney. And at that time, maybe I was 15, or yeah, I was about 15. And we did that movie. It was one of the best, another just great experience in my life, to be around these men. Sandman Sims was in the movie, Harold Nicholas, and all of these gentlemen are no longer with us in the physical, except for Arthur Duncan. So all of these cats have transitioned, and I will be forever in the red as far as my debt to them, to what they have given me, what they have shared with me. what they have shared with my family. I think because of them, my family, everything about what I do is just different. So I love these cats forever. So after the movie Tap, yes. After the movie Tap, what did we do? I have these gentlemen here also, Tomas and Jordan. They were also in the production of Club Bring Time Back. So I'm very much about improvisation. The ladies here, Caitlin and Julia and Adam, and even the great John Schreiber, they don't know what I'm gonna do. Is he gonna show up? Is he gonna dance? What time is the show? Well, we have the kids here, they're all upstairs. What do you want them to do? I don't know. I just want them to be here. Are they gonna perform? I don't know. Maybe. But because of my improvisational nature, I have these gentlemen here standing by. But I think we should, I've asked them to be prepared to do some stuff because, and there are a couple of other musicians who were here, who were part of the thing, but during one point in my life, somebody handed me a John Coltrane CD. Yeah, and I was like, ugh.